going live to Facebook. So to make sure, see if it goes live to Facebook, I go back to here, to Meta. Wait a second. Doesn't look like we're getting the audio. I mean because this is turned off. So now that I turn that back on, oh, there we go. See, now we're getting it. So it's good. Now here, I'll just test here. Turn the computer volume on and unmute this. Okay. Yep. So that makes sense. That makes it so that we know that that they're picking up our audio on the live stream.
All right.
So
3 minutes till short time.
Cool. And then we're all set to go. Then we need to go down and we need to click on Go Live over here to go live on Facebook. So right now we're live on YouTube.
All right.
Say hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
But now we go live on Facebook. Give that a second. Let's see if it works. And
Survey says
oh, it's live.
Live.
So now we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And
with
we're
a
good.
7-second drag.
Right, something like that. Well, no, that's different from that. 7 seconds. That's the radio.
Oh, okay.
So
So you don't really.
if you swear, it's going over our live stream.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay. Double check that.
Because this is different. The radio is what. Yeah, that's going over the air.
I don't know if you had like some weird loop thing where you could like control it, like put it in like a safety cloud.
At some point, we want to make it so that you're getting the audio from the board, also like going straight to here, like for the live stream. So people on live, because right now on the live stream, they aren't getting your mic. So if you're extra quiet and Chaim's extra loud, good? Yep. If you're extra quiet and Chaim's extra loud, live stream, they're hearing it as if they're right there in the room. So you'll still be quiet or you'll still be louder. It's just a mic right there.
Gotcha.
This is, we're here on your mics, we're normalizing.
Controlled, yeah.
Yeah, we're controlling it there, so.
You got the board.
But then we're trying to take these and
Right.
replace the live stream with it within a couple of days, but we're not always able to do that.
Okay,
So
are we all good?
I think so.
All right.
Make sure that you have proper from his mics. Yeah, headphones
Phones on
volume.
silent.
Yeah, phones on.
So that's-
I'll put you on cue.
There.
Try talking in your
And
mic.
Zach around a minute.
Red leather, yellow leather. Just kidding.
Asking for water.
I think that's yours.
But he didn't fill yours.
I know. That's
Okay.
that's what it is.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's one.
We got some breaks.
Yeah, that's one drop. Okay.
Okay. Hey, Jay, can you try talking into your mic?
Yes, can you hear me now? Hello. I am here. It is snowy out.
Are you continuing to talk?
I will keep continuing
Okay,
to talk
continue to talk.
the entire time. I have the gift of gab.
I'm not.
Oh,
Okay. There we go. Sorry.
ooh, that's loud.
Now. Sorry about that. Now you have the feed.
Can you keep trying to talk? Can you keep trying to talk?
Oh yeah, sorry. Just tell me when to stop
coming
or
up
whatnot. Can you hear me now? I am talking at normal tone and voice. And
Try talking to this one.
hello, my name is Jason Gust.
Jack, we're up. We're live now.
Use that mic, the one you're right.
Sorry.
I think so.
Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The answer. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to snowy Monday. I hope you're safe. I hope you're warm. And thank you for tuning in to the Peak. We really appreciate having you here, starting the week with us, or starting the end of the first day with us. Today is Business and Culture Monday, and so we're going to be focusing in on the local business scene. But of course, we're going to continue to talk about this hate crime hoax story surrounding Mayor Yemi. We have updates on that, and we continue to be, and in some ways I like this, but really as a resident of this area, I don't like it at all, that we seem to be the only media, at least that we've seen in now 2.5 weeks since the story broke in the Daily Wire, the only media that's really investigating and reporting on what's going on. I wish that wasn't the case. There are obviously much bigger organizations than the Peak News to be reporting on this subject, and we've been seeking to discover this from a lot of different angles and find out what the truth is on this. Did Mayor Yemi know about this hoax while it was happening, as the Daily Wire article claims? Did he lie to the FBI, as the Daily Wire article claims? Well, Mayor Yemi spoke out on a Facebook Live on Friday, so we're going to be talking about that. If you haven't heard it, we'll be recapping it. You can certainly go check it out on Facebook or on our website, as well as all of the programs that we've done since this story broke, because we committed to you from the beginning when we launched, and we're coming around to our 1-year anniversary in January, that we would say the quiet stuff out loud, that we would be real journalism, that we would ask the questions that others aren't asking, we would keep in the game until we get the answers, because you, as the public, need the media to function in its proper way. And the media around the country has not been functioning that well. We saw that with the elections, how much it is partisan and it's not acting to serve the people, but seemingly special interest, or maybe just the opinion or the bent of the reporter himself. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Our job is to find out the information, put it in context, put it before you so that you can run your life with good information. And that's what we will continue to do. And it amazes us that this story, that really is a major story, our mayor, Yemi Mobilati, has been accused of some horrible stuff. And we, as the media, shouldn't seek to jump on it in order to get Yemi. We're not doing that. But we should seek to jump on it because it's a valid story. The information should get out, and it shouldn't hang out there with all kinds of silence and seemingly ignoring the story. And so this is why we're here, and thank you for joining us, and we appreciate if you would let others know that there actually is a news entity in town that is doing this, and we would invite you to join us, because guess what? We don't do this alone. We do it as a citizen journalist organization. As we say, we're local citizens telling local stories supported by local business, and that makes us a real local news source to do what we've committed to do. And a shout out to all of our sponsors, but especially to Springs Dentist, our platinum sponsor, and Dr. Craig Summers, Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. They're our family dentist. In fact, I have an appointment for a cleaning tomorrow. I'm just remembering that. I need to go in the morning. Love seeing Craig. He's a good friend of mine. And I invite you to check them out, Springs Dentist, as well as all of our sponsors that are on here. But you know why? Because they heard about this project, even though we're new. We're basically a startup in a way, and said, we need this, and we want to be part of this, and we're behind it. And we so appreciate that. So appreciate them by patronizing them. So what are we doing here today? Well, we're talking about the local restaurant scene with the owner of Pizzeria Rustica, president at Ascent Restaurant Group, and former VP of the Colorado Restaurant Association, Chef Jay Gust. Talking about the local restaurant industry, as I said. Chef Gust, thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's been a wild year, so wild couple of years actually.
And so what we're going to be getting into today, after we get through the headlines, is talking about the restaurant industry here. Obviously an industry that always, as they say, when you get in a restaurant, it's iffy. It's really hard to run a restaurant, but in the economy, the way we've had it, it's been very, very hard because people have been tight on their money, especially, as we all know, especially with things that we might consider optional. But now, with the elections and everything else, we'll see, Are things coming back? Are people loosening up their pocketbooks? Are they going out and enjoying themselves? And are we going to local restaurants, not just those big, the big box ones, the chain ones, but the ones that are owned locally? I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. So happy to have you joining us here on the Peak as we begin another week with business. We're talking about food, so stick around for the Peak. We'll be right back.
Are we still live right now?
Okay, that was okay.
Can you see them in there?
I can.
Is this working very good?
Is the mic working? Can we do a mic check now? With Jay?
I am talking.
He's talking in that mic. Okay, good. Okay.
Does it work? Okay.
Okay,
It's
cool.
good. Kind of hit the ground running.
Excellent. Let me just reset things. We got that. These mics, you got to really stay on top
You gotta be on
of.
top,
They
okay.
got a very short pickup.
We
time.
found water?
Yes, can you fill up this water, please? I'm good.
Which mic are you on? You're
I'm on this one now. Yep.
Okay, is that the one that we normally are?
It depends. We use both, but we've been using the one in the corner more.
Ooh, maybe I can't tighten it.
Not quite.
There we go. There.
I mean, it's actually better if we
Get it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're
sort of more
straight on.
looking at you. Yeah. That's way better.
We just redid the studio a couple months ago to make it more video friendly.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's kind of that. That's the new wave. Is like how do you
You go.
get it to where you're hitting one job checks like 9 different boxes now, and with everything. It's just like even in the restaurant, like the craziness of having Twitter, having Facebook, having all of it. Now you have TikTok and this and that. I'm just like I get almost confused with how many different accounts I have, and I have to have like not only rubrics, but my marketing person takes care of most of it, thankfully.
Yeah, we're having to do that. We're actually getting interns more on stuff. We're back in about 2.5 minutes.
Right.
I'm going to quickly look at these articles. Okay, back in about a minute.
Right.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. It's Business and Culture Monday, and we're continuing with some dirty laundry here. We play that music. You don't hear it on the live stream. You don't hear it on the podcast because it's copyrighted. But we get to play it here on the radio station. I like to add a little pop culture music to our news, and we have the dirty laundry, Don Henley. Dirty laundry, and that's because that's mostly what the media goes after. It's about sensationalism. It's about making the stories as juicy as possible. In journalism, we should go after juicy stories because they're juicy, but we shouldn't do it for that reason. We should do it because they serve the public. But we have a situation right now where there is dirty laundry, and overall, I'm concerned because of the way that the media isn't handling it well. And from the beginning, when we started this, I called it out and I differentiated ourselves when we started the Peak back in January to say the media is not doing its job. And it was obvious on the national level. It was sort of obvious on the local level just because there are so many stories that we don't hear about. Like, where are the investigative reports about, I don't know, about fentanyl, about, trafficking, about gangs, about, developments going, like there's hardly any investigative reporting. There's basically journalists who are taking, and I know this, being in the industry, we can be lazy. And so you don't get out on the street, you read press releases, you put out statements of other people, but you don't actually dig. And it really came to the fore over the past 2.5 weeks since on November 21st, this Daily Wire article came out about our mayor claiming that this hate crime, supposed hate crime that was perpetrated during the 2023 mayoral election here in Colorado Springs. And if you haven't heard about this, this is why. Like, it should be everywhere, I would think. That a week before this Daily Wire article came out, federal charges were unsealed against 3 people that this was a hoax and it was perpetrated for the benefit of Yemi Mobilati during his campaign. And then a week later, this article came out in the Daily Wire claiming that Mayor Yemi knew about it, and when the feds came to question him about it, he lied to them about it. Those are very, very serious charges. And we've been covering this and trying to dig things up and look at who are the people involved and even talking to those people. We've taken criticism of why would you be talking to these people that perpetrated such a crime, especially as one of them was just convicted and sentenced to life plus for murder, for actually murder for hire. He didn't, seemingly he didn't do it, he got someone to do it. That person hasn't even had a trial yet. But he's claiming innocence and that he was set up, and there's a lot of story here. And so we've been trying to put that in front of you, and we've been putting our content as well as the content of others on a special webpage at thepeak.news. That's our website, thepeak.news, thepeak.news/hate crime hoax. And so you can go there and you can watch the reports that we've done and articles from other papers and videos as a one-stop shop that you can go on. So last Wednesday I got the chance to speak face-to-face with Mayor Yemi, who I know. And everybody likes Yemi, and this is obviously very concerning. And I said to him, look, we're trying to cover this fairly, but we're getting like nothing from you guys. We're getting these statements out of the mayor's office, official statements that basically say nothing. Can you give us more so that we can report it? And he said to me, he said other things that I said were off the record. And I said to him, invited him again, please come on the program. Whenever you're ready to talk about this, we'd love to have you back on and talk about this. But can you give us something? He said, okay, I'm meeting with my communications director tomorrow. Let me talk to him about it. Well, that turned out to be, I guess, a Facebook Live that Yemi did at just before noon on Friday. And you can go on Facebook, you can go on Yemi's page, the mayor's page there, and he expressly denied that he lied to the FBI. And this is the first time that we've gotten such a statement. It's always been things about not interfering with the court case that's going on and everything. So the statement, greetings, some of you may recall an incident during the 2023 mayoral election that left a deep and painful mark on me, my family, and our community. One of my campaign signs was defaced with a racial slur, and a burning cross was placed in front of it. The incident has been under federal investigation. A few weeks ago, the U.S. Attorney's Office indicted 3 people suspected of a hate crime hoax. Since then, false claims have circulated about my involvement and have been amplified by a small group of politically motivated individuals. The rumors have become so ridiculous they've led to reports in a Nigerian newspaper saying I was arrested by the FBI. Obviously, he's Nigerian, so there was interest over there. Because I respect the judicial process, and he goes on, unequivocally, here's what I want to get to. Unequivocally, I fully and truthfully cooperated throughout the investigation. I had no knowledge, warning, or involvement in this crime. I did not lie to the FBI. I voluntarily provided all requests for communication without a subpoena, and I received and will be releasing a document from the Department of Justice that reads that I was, quote, identified by law enforcement as a victim or potential victim during the investigation of the criminal case, end quote. And I invite you to read more about it and look into it and things like that. In the interim, the Gazette finally came out after 2 weeks with their first mention of this and report of this, and honestly, I see that it doesn't try to answer the questions about the accusations. It goes into, as I've seen with other things, sort of attacking the accusers, and the Independent came out with an article finally on Friday that very from the beginning says this is about the conservative media wanting to go after Yemi. It actually attacks the conservative media. And I would just say in my commentary to my colleagues out there, if you consider me a colleague, maybe I'm too small for you to consider a colleague, this isn't journalism. Attacking the Daily Wire, attacking conservative people, conservative media. By the way, it says conservative media is having a field day. Nobody's having a field day here except the Peak. But they don't mention us. I wish they had mentioned us. It would have given us more coverage. I don't know if they even know about us. I don't know if they're covering us. But it attacked specifically the conservative media and had that great, condescending tone that these things always do against us as people. What it did at the end in the Independent, it asked questions. It said there's still questions that remain to be answered. And I would say, why didn't you start the article that way? And if you're a local journalist, which the Daily Wire is someone somewhere else, the local journalist, why don't you hit the street and get answers to these questions? We need to get answers to these questions. We're trying. We invite you to be a citizen journalist here at the Peak. We have a tip line on the website. I had someone call me today with some great information because people are calling us because they know we'll do something with the information. I'm a little upset. And I call out to stop doing hit pieces on conservative media or whatever, and let's do our job as the media. If Yemi is innocent, let's clear him. If he's guilty and needs to be held accountable, let's help the legal entities do that. Let's be the media. Okay, I'm going to get down off my soapbox. Give you time just to talk about. There's an article here that I was going to go into about developers and the high rise and planning downtown, but just. Chef Jay Gust of Pizzeria Rustica, what are things like in the downtown right now? What's business like down there? We'll be talking a little bit more about it, but what are you seeing?
I mean, I would say all around the entire city is slow. Downtown, west side, everywhere else just seems to be getting a little bit of a hit. With the downtown, I hope that we've got so much development. There's so many great opportunities with 1,500 new apartment spaces being built. So I mean, there's definitely some potential growth there. But I think for the most part, all in all, if you're in the hospitality business, you're all going like, you know what, it's a little tougher this year. And it's not so much that sales aren't completely down, but it's your bottom line is down. And we can go
because of inflation and
because of inflation. I mean, there's been many things that happen on the legislative side with the Colorado Saves Act and the FMLA and everything else, where it's always going to be a match, right? I mean, there's the small business and the business in general always has their skin in the game too.
So real quick, have you seen an uptick since the election, or has it stayed the same business?
I think it's a minor uptick, and I think really what that was is everybody's kind of keeping their powder dry until the election was done, and now we're starting to get some inquiries on events where this was the first year I'm going like, we have no events booked? What?
Okay. Hi, I'm Goldman. You're listening to The Peak. We have Jay Gust of Pizzeria Rustica. You're listening to The Peak. We'll be right back. We're talking about the restaurant industry in town. Okay. Now I'll slow down.
That's okay.
I had to get a lot of that out. Okay, so when we come back, I'll this temperature of hospitality in Colorado Springs. Is that still the title we want?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so let me give you a couple pre-things that we're already into the show on. One is this means wrap it up.
Yep.
So if you see that, 10, 15 seconds, hand it back
Yep.
to me. If you hear music, I'm 30 seconds from commercials, so I got to get it back soon. Otherwise, during this segment, you'll have about 4 minutes. So I'll give you 3, 2, 1, and this means 30 seconds. So that'll
Gotcha.
allow you to
So
pace
wrap it up
yourself.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I won't give you wrap it up on this. I'll give you 30, because wrap it up is quicker than that. I'll give you 30, so you put the final chapter and statement on this. If you hand it back to me a little soon, I'll figure out a follow-up question, but try to use the time if you can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you see me hold up a finger or two, I'm giving you a time budget. So just take a minute or two to answer that and try to approximate that and give it back to me. Otherwise, and I think you're doing it already, is because it's radio, it's just voice. So there has to be an intensity, like theater acting, of
Vibrato.
You see me talking with my hands, but it's only to vocalize it.
Yeah.
So it helps me to radio theater.
Yeah.
If you're it has to. If it doesn't get vocalized, it stays here. So you already are upbeat. I don't need you to necessarily be.
Don't upscale too much.
You're energetic, but just think about how stuff that body language and facial expression usually communicates, how you can send it through your voice. It makes it more dynamic, more passionate, things like that.
Right.
That's about it. That's what I know about doing good radio.
There you go. I get it.
So we're back in a minute and a half. Any questions, thoughts?
No. So is this a straight conservative station?
This is specifically Salem is the conservative talk station.
Okay.
This is my show, not Salem's show.
Yeah.
So we know our base. We know our base, and thank you for listening. Our base is conservative, but honestly, we're looking to try to move it back to just be news, because I don't think there should be conservative media or liberal media.
It's just media. It should be just media.
It should be just media, but you can't change the world in a day. So overall, we'll always, I would think, be at least slightly right of center, because I think conservatism cares about preserving things, and why news is so important and introspection is so important. But we're inviting anybody to be a citizen journalist, as long as they can do their job and not seek to be an activist.
And do due diligence, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're going to express your opinion, say, this is my opinion, but don't present it at news or leave information out that's inconvenient for things, and be a journalist, which is, we're learning a lot doing this. We're learning a lot with this story about what it means to be a journalist, because this is high stakes, and we don't want to ignore it. We also don't want to embellish it and make anything out to be bad for Yemi. This is his family, his life, his city.
Absolutely, yeah.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. Doing a shout out to one of our gold sponsors, our gold partners, John Graham Homes, taking the drama out of home buying and selling while saving you money too. And or as John says it, I think it's drama. How does he say it? John's from New York. How does he say it? Drama. You know what? I can't even do it. Drama. Yeah, I can do my Philly, but my New York's not coming out today. But John Graham Homes, and you'll hear his spots here, as well as our other sponsors. And if you go on our website, you can get hot links to all of our sponsors, as well as give to our nonprofit foundation. We're calling this, forget about Cyber Tuesday or Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday, the whole month. Just give to our nonprofit. We're doing great things. We'll talk about that later, to help youth break into media. And in fact, we have interns on our board, running our board today. It's exciting down here. We give people opportunity. So today is Business and Culture Day. We have with us as our guest and co-host the owner of Pizzeria Rustica, president of Ascent Restaurant Group, and former VP of the Colorado Restaurant Association, Chef Jay Gust. And Jay is going to talk about, now this is where I hand the soapbox over, talk about the temperature of hospitality in Colorado Springs. Jay.
Well, I would be lying if I said everything is fine and dandy, because it is tougher out there. It takes twice as much time to get half as much result, and that's kind of where we're at. And when 2019 was around, you could kind of see the writing was on the wall, and that's when I was the vice president for the Pikes Peak chapter of the CRA, and we kind of walked into COVID with that, which was just wild. So it's kind of like it went to mayhem, but with different legislation that had passed, really drilling more into the labor costs and the Colorado Cares Act and the FMLA and whatnot, it just really kind of absorbed a lot of that bottom line that normally, and restaurants already are on razor thin margins, so you just don't have, they're not cash cows, right? It is what it is. And one of the big things that happened is that with COVID, everybody came back, we re-stipended everybody, got, I love paying people more, but the way we did it, we didn't see the reciprocal part of it going like, oh, well, now all of our insurance has doubled. My insurance has tripled over a 4-year period. And that's the kind of stuff where it's like you can't just, invent more money. I can't say, hey, this pizza that is $16, well, now it's $26, but you know what? We got Colorado Saves and FMLA, I mean, it's just wild out there on that side of it. And then everything else with inflation just went really, really far up. We've had multiple businesses close, even just as of today and this week. There's been, a lot of restaurants downtown, a lot of restaurants up north, restaurants on the west side. Like it's a level playing field on tough to do it. And if you don't have a super sharp pencil, man, get ready, because it'll come eat your lunch. No pun intended.
Are consumers understanding this?
I think for the most part they have a presumption of what's going on, but when you think of inflation and you not being the restaurant industry, you go, okay, well, avocado's more expensive, so it's going to be more expensive to get that guacamole. Well, that guacamole doesn't take into effect all the center of the statement costs. Like one of my old mentors, he was telling me years ago, it's like, man, we used to bring 17% down to the bottom line. I barely even took a look at what my bills were. And now it's like you gotta be drilling in order to get 8%. 6% is probably closer to the new average.
So, being in the restaurant business, why do people? I mean, it's always been a tough business, right? It's like after 5 years, what is it? 20% or still around or something like that?
Yeah, and you have to love it. I think people really like restaurateurs, chefs, lifetime servers, all that. Like it's really, if you don't love it, it's going to chew you up. And that's.
Now, you said you've seen a little bit of an uptick in business since the election. Maybe people were holding close, trying to see what was going on. Are people spending more or less? Are they tipping? Like, what are you seeing just in the month since the election?
I think it is on the right. It's on a better trajectory, but it still needs to be amplified. I think for what summer should have been just a gangbuster, huge summer. Like normally, like on the west side, we do 60% of our businesses in 4 months, and that's usually like the saving grace of being able to like slowly divvy that out all winter long. Well,
that didn't work this time around.
Not as well as it normally does.
Okay, you're listening to The Peak on Business and Culture Day. We have Chef Jay Gust with us from Pizzeria Rustica. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about the food and hospitality business here in the Springs. Okay, so we're on page 4.
Yeah.
We started getting into the problem solution thing. I mean, that's been the vibe of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what sort of new or deeper or things can we do? Because we do have about 2 to 3 minutes per answer now, so we can spend a little more time. So can you go in with, this is time to bring up statistics, or come in with store, it's a time to maybe tell stories. People like stories. So
Absolutely.
where do you think you can? So it's not we're just doing different versions of
same
the last segment. Where do you think we can?
I
go?
think the revitalization of the restaurants and getting retention business and true growth, and like one of my catchphrases is always big a builder pie. Don't worry about how big your slice is. That'll all come in time. And I think that is and that really is part of that whole re-energizing of it. Different ways to do that is when I look at it, I look at, really sequence of service, doing better service, like truly doing a better job.
But you're saying individually or overall, like all the restaurants?
All the restaurants as a whole, like
Okay.
we all have to step our game up. I think COVID kind of rattled everybody cages where all of a sudden you could barely be open, you barely had any staff, if you did have any staff, and they ran the roost. So it's like
If you could get jobs.
there was multiple
Yeah.
restaurants that had mass walkouts or mass, we're not coming in today because we don't want the day off, and so you just have to close your doors.
Okay, we'll mention that. So I'll get into, we talked challenges some, so we will cover it. We're back in about 20 seconds. But let's move on from that to the solutions more. And when you say better job, I'm going to ask a follow-up of what do you mean by doing a better job? What does it mean to do a better job?
Yeah.
As an individual restaurant or as a group,
Perfect.
as a industry?
Yep.
Okay, well. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. And here at the Peak, we after a couple of months here, I just started using the phrase, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and it's stuck. And it's really become our operating, mission, our vision statement, whatever you want to call it. And that's why when it came time to like cover this story about the hate crime hoax in Mayor Yemi, it's like we don't have a choice. We promised the people that we would do it. Well, here we are on business day, and as a show talking about business, and of course we love our town and we want the best. But you might think, well, don't say any bad news, like because there in El Paso County there's about Colorado Springs, let's just say 500,000 residents. There's 2 million visitors. So when you're in a tourist town, there's this pressure to not say anything bad and to make it. But you know what that does? It makes us never solve any problems. And eventually, the residents don't want to live here. Eventually, the tourists don't want to come. So if all we're thinking about is the next quarter, that's a problem. If we're thinking about living in a city and helping it to be its best, well, that to me is what we should be focused on. And so we say the quiet stuff out loud, not to bring bad news, but if there's bad news, there needs to be bad news. If there's things to highlight, let's highlight them. And that is the purpose that I see of media, and that's what we do around here. And we invite you to join us. Go to thepeak.news and become a citizen journalist. And it can be on anything. Maybe you're a foodie and you want to do restaurant reports. We would love to do that. My wife keeps talking about doing that, but I said, honey, you'd actually have to go out and do it. You can't just get free meals and go out. But maybe you want to do government meetings. Maybe you want to do sports. Maybe you want to do arts and entertainment. We don't care. We just want a lot of voices of citizens in town doing citizen journalism. So please go on the website, join us, fill out the form, and we'll be contacting you because we're having regular meetings with our citizen journalists. So we have on this Business and Culture Monday, owner of Pizzeria Rustica, president of Ascent Restaurant Group, and former VP of the El Paso County chapter?
Pikes Peak
chapter of the Colorado Restaurant Association, Chef Jay Gust. So Jeff, how'd you become a chef?
Well, it started, I would say I professionally started cooking about 20 years old, 19 years old at the Ritz here, downtown, right on Tejon. Did 13 yeyears there, but it actually, me and the food scene started when I was about 13, washing dishes back in Wisconsin. And, it was just one of those things, you need to make money? Okay, well, go take dirty, make clean, and put away, right? Well, me and my buddy, we drove out here overnight to go snowboarding when we were 18. And we're like, we're going to move out to Colorado. We're going to go pro snowboarders. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Move out here, get a job downtown here. I go up to the mountains, and I see a kid that's like 5 years younger than me just do a trick. I'm going like, yeah, I got nothing. This ain't happening. So back to the dish pit to go, you know what, at least I get a meal and a roof over my head, a little bit of spending money. And from there, I ended up taking over as the executive chef of the Ritz for many, many years. helped out with other restaurants, got really deep into our community, and community is really a huge key within the culture of all of the things that I touch base with. And it really is, we had the Champ de Cuisine, so ended up winning a lot of like, it's like the Colorado Iron Chef. So won that 3 years in a row, so I ended up being a judge for that. James Beard House out in New York City, cooked there a couple times, which is kind of like I'd say it's kind of like the Hall of Fame for chefs. You know, you get to the James Beard House, it's like you're kind of, you got to bleep out in the world there. And I've done just a lot of cooking in general, and it's just.
So has it been all on the job, or did you go get school?
I did. So actually, Concept Restaurants, they sent me out to culinary school in Portland, Oregon, and when I came back, that's when I really started taking over the restaurants and helping out wherever I needed to go. And then that just kind of grew and grew and grew, and just a little more community awareness. Ended up being the task force chef for one of the Hilton properties and running the DoubleTree down south. And then how I got into Pizzeria Rustica and Top of Tree, and my more recent, even though it's like over 12 years ago, items was Dave Brackett, the guy that originally opened up Pizzeria Rustica and Top of Tree. He was like, he comes into the DoubleTree, he goes, Jay, you need to stop doing banquet chicken and start owning. And I'm going like, you know, I'll bite. Okay, let's talk. And you know, his retirement plan was my ownership plan. It worked out great, and it was a little nerve wracking, you know, taking over a bit of a pay cut, and then also, you know, the first year I'm into the ownership side. It's the Waldo Canyon fire. I'm going like, okay, well, this is kind of scary, you know.
Yeah, all the risk, right?
All the risk, yeah. You get to see that side of it. And then as I progressed into more of the mentorship and the culturing, like we did Home at Kinship Landing, right downtown, which is a really cool project, and Opus Creative Workforce Program, which was also kind of it ended up happening because of COVID. Like, you know, we've always talked about how to like get people a little better, and how to do like secondary studying, whether it's, you know, back from one of the colleges or this in the restaurant, so it's more boots on the ground, more lifetime, and that's what Opus Creative is. But after being closed because, hey, we've got no one to cook, you know, and I can't physically do it all. That's part of one of the you know, birthing points of where Opus Creative was invented.
We'll get into that a little bit toward the end of these projects that you're involved in, and we'll see how much we can cover. But in earlier segments in the program, we talked about challenges to being a restaurateur and what it's like being in this business down here. We really want to get into the solutions because you're focused on those. But if you could recap for those maybe who are just joining us, what are some of the major challenges that those in the hospitality restaurant business are experiencing specifically in our region?
In our region, I would say there is still a bit of a lack of attendance. You know, there's a lot of empty seats. I don't care what restaurant you go into. There's not everybody's full Friday, Saturday night, and everybody's going, man, we could have done 50 more covers Monday. And today's a prime example.
Well, it's snowing out. That's one thing, but do you attribute that mostly to economy, to people?
I think a lot of it is economy. I think the spending habits, and I think just post-pandemic are a part of it. I mean, I think it's more like one of those death by a million cuts. So we energized teaching people how to cook. There's master classes. There's all this ways of how to really stay at home and not to go out. We also energized, you know, working from home and not going into office spaces and not doing this. I mean, we kind of as a society said, hey, you don't have to go out anymore. Really, you can kind of stay at home. That's okay. You work in your box.
We'll just call for delivery, right?
Exactly. And I mean, one thing that I do to combat it is I keep on trying to work on bettering our service standards and bettering. I mean, not saying we're bad in the States, but I mean, the European service standard is amazing when you go there and you do like a nice Michelin star restaurant where, you know, it's that preemptive thought of seeing what the guest needs before they need it and creating those relationships. And that's really one of my big things that I try to do on the face forward side. On the back side of it, it is just like what I said earlier, sharpening the pencil. It's about how do I cut costs here without affecting the guests nor the staff? Because, you know, without a great staff, you're nothing.
No, I mean, a lot of times here in a restaurant, it's where can I find someone to serve me?
Exactly. And if you got a good one, you want to keep them, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying as a customer, even like, hey, is there anybody here paying attention? So, what are some of the other things that you see that are going to be necessary in order to better the restaurant industry here in the Springs?
I mean, the inflation of prices have to kind of stabilize a little bit. I would love to see, you know, and I'm not politically driven too much, but I would love to see some legislation be fixed, or at least slowed down a little bit before we outprice being able to afford servers.
This is regarding mostly the minimum wage laws.
A lot of it's minimum wage, but that's like I said, that's one drop in the bucket. You have the insurance policies that go with that. Where why don't we relook at insurance policy and go, why don't we look at FTEs, full-time equivalents, as opposed to what dollars spent? And even that little piece would probably have saved me $6,000 last year.
So talk about the difference between being competitive as a restaurant, and wanting those customers, and it doesn't go to someone else, and the industry as a whole working together. Like, how can that be balanced?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, I would say if you in the restaurant world, you can't be against your neighboring restaurant, and it's one of my mantras is always worry less about how big your slice of the pie is, worry more about how better and how bigger you can make that pie, so we all have a seat at the table. And in the OCC area, we have such unique, amazing spaces that really deserve a seat at that table, and I'll do whatever I can. I'll fight tooth and nail to help them grow.
So, do you have a specific philosophy, of running of a restaurant or of food?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the big thing is if you take care of your staff and you find that balance of controlling your quality and your costs, it usually it happens by itself. Organically, you're gonna have a great business. But when some things are out of control, like you can't really control your costs because they're just through the roof right now, and if you raise your prices, well, people aren't going to go out to eat. Like I said, if you get a personal pizza for $25, we're like, well, that's great, but was the service that great?
So, I'll give you 30 seconds to pitch Pizzeria Rustica.
Pizzeria Rustica, the first wood-fired Neapolitan standard pizzeria in Colorado Springs, 4-star green certified. That means, yes, I think we're probably the only place that composts in the city. And we try to keep it as classic to Italy as you can. So I fly the yeast in, I fly the flour, and we make the cheese fresh every day. Our wine list is completely top notch. You've been to Italy and you walk into Rustica, you're going to be like, wow, this is like being in Italy. And then I built that wine bar, Enoteca Rustica, upstairs. That's an amazing private event space that is just absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, and Pizzeria Rustica, rustica.com is the website. We have about 30 seconds left. Tell us about Opus Creative and your involvement with that.
Opus Creative. So that is right downtown. It is one South Nevada. Linda Weiss really has been the really head.
We've had her on the show.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Ball of energy. Just great person. And it's a training program. It's a lifetime, fast-paced training program to get culinarians back in our field.
That's awesome. We need ecosystems. That's what we're trying to do here with the Peak and News. I'm glad that Linda's working on so much down there. We're here with Chef Jay Gust. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Old Colorado City Downtown Development Authority. You probably haven't heard of it yet, but you will here on the Peak. We'll be right back. Okay, cool. We got a little behind on time, so I tried to rush through this last thing. No, that's fine. It's all good. That's what I said. When you get on the radio, you see what happens. Mm-hmm. But we tried. That's why I like to know where we want to go, so we can try to cram it in there at the end. Okay, so we're going to have. I got to find out how long because I throw to a recorded segment at the end of ours, so I got to find out how long that is to know what time we have. But basically, we're on page 5. And so I'm going to ask you basically the what and what are the objectives or goals of it.
And this will be a lot shorter because I can't speak too deep.
Yeah, well, you're only going to have about 4 minutes or so you can face that. Hey, how long do we have with it? you can see it's a very fast-paced
There it is.
show. The goal, like now we have these segments that you're doing, but really the goal is, and we're trying to have more reports that citizen journalists would be putting in these 4.5 minute reports about whatever, and we can pop them in on the appropriate theme day that we have. So, but until we're trying to get production from them, until we do, we give you get the benefit of more space, but those nooks and crannies are designed to be so that
Content fillers,
and that that we have a space for everything, for short format, long format, headlines, everything. So every day we can put a show together that's, I hope, interesting.
Do you get a lot of people like actually calling in and submitting, or?
No, I mean, I thought we'd have people falling over themselves to get,
Voice their opinion.
but it's amazing. I think we've been trying to figure out why. I think people lost confidence in the media. I also think people are scared to speak up. Like,
I agree with that.
We're trying to give people their voice back. Say, be part, like, we're saying it, you say it, and so, but it's growing, and we have our interns now, and we're actually, tonight at 6 o'clock, we're having another meeting, citizen journalist meeting, and
I would say, definitely link up with Linda, but part of that Meet Is Art program is what she's
I
already
did,
done.
when she was on, she said she could get us some interns, and then we tried, it never really manifested from their video program and things like that. It didn't come together.
Well, they're only like the first 2 cohorts in. It's pretty new.
Welcome back to the Peak News. It's Business and Culture Day. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. Well, if you're here in Colorado Springs, you love the Springs, and you want it to go well. Regardless of your predispositions, your politics, or whatever, everything, we love the Springs, and we want the businesses here to do well. And these development authorities that are specific by region in our cities can be really, really powerful. We're seeing, obviously, a lot going on in the downtown, especially with apartments going up. And so these are long-term plans that government is actually good in getting involved in and doing, but business has to be in there speaking up, because we know the government doesn't always look after the interest of business. They tend to not be business people so well, they're government people. And so in this last segment with Chef Jay Gust of Pizzeria Rustica, and also who's the former vice president of the Pikes Peak chapter of the Colorado Restaurant Association, we're talking about the old Colorado City Downtown Development Authority that's sort of gearing up, as I hear. I just heard about it today.
Yeah.
Jay, can you fill us in on what it is, what's going on?
So yes, so the OCC DDA we got on the ballot measure as a ballot measure this last November, and it did pass. Not all of it passed, but the majority of it did, and it's goes from I-25 all the way to 31st, and it's really about re-energizing and revitalizing that area with it's like a self-funding, a self-licking ice cream cone, because we get some monies out of the taxes and whatnot after the city gets their cut. They gotta pave the roads, do all that, but as far as like better wayfinding, mitigation of homeless, parking, whatnot, we actually start having a little more control on that. And since we're the ones boots on the ground, we should be the ones doing it right.
So where's the money coming from?
The money comes from a little bit of sales tax, and it's like I said, no one's going to be a fat cat off this. Trust me on that one. It's all gets reinvested back into that area, and TIFs and whatnot. So just like how the Downtown Partnership has their DDA, we have one that's on the west side. And really, I'd say some of the big goals is really trying to really get better wayfinding, make sure there's a better continuity between downtown and the west side, protect it better, find better ways to amplify usage and parking, find better ways to light it. Is really take those monies and listen to the people that are in that area and let them dictate how the monies they spent and saved are spent again.
Now, how are you involved?
Well, I'm one of the board of directors, so
Okay.
I'm on the board. So.
And who's on? Is the board all restaurateurs or who's
No, it's all over the place. So because that area is really kind of like, there's some residential, there's the gateway side of it, there's the OCC side of it. It was really trying to pick people from different areas, whether they were just business owners, whether they were building owners, whether they were residential, what part were they in, just to make sure that there was enough capture of all the segments to make sense.
So it's not just business; it's the whole.
No, it's not.
the whole area.
It's the whole area, and that's really the voice that you want to have. It's like you don't want to be like, hey, well, I'm at Bancroft Park, and this is what we need to do. We need to, put heaters in there and gate it and turn it into an outside bar all summer long. Well, that doesn't help Gateway at all. That doesn't help, all the little mom and pops, the tea house that's on Colorado Ave on 15th, and all the other little spaces. So this is about how to continually do the whole thing and just really work as a team and a louder voice, as opposed to just what it was as the enterprise zone.
And how is the public being consulted on this? Are they yet, or?
Not too much yet, other than we put out the information on, hey, this is what we're trying to do, right? And it did pass on the ballot initiative, so that's good.
So are there going to be meetings with with the neighborhoods and like normal stuff? That
yes, there'll definitely be a lot of hitting the streets and really getting people's opinions and making sure that we are pushing the ball forward in the right manner.
Okay. That's the Old Colorado City Downtown Development Authority, or the OCCDDA.
Yeah, OCCDDA.
Everything has to have acronyms there. You've been spending the hour with me, Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and Chef Jay Gust of Pizzeria Rustica. Again, the website for everything Pizzeria Rustica. And if you want to get in touch with Jay, pizzeriarustica.com. Jay, thanks so much for being here on the Peak. And now we have Jim Miller, Just a Guy, and the Peak Rants. And what is Jim talking about? Very appropriate for today, shoveling snow. That was okay.
That's awesome.
He's our Andy Rooney.
Yeah.
He's our sarcastic, grumpy guy at the end of the program. But
that's great.
Some are classic, some are okay. We give him free reign here. So I just got about a 2-minute close. Do you have time to hang out a little bit?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay. So we have about a 3-minute break, and then I got to close. Let me find out. Mondays I actually I have another show at from 5 to 6 on the Bible station.
Yeah.
Let me just check with my guest for. Hi Jim, confirming you'll be here by 4:15. P? Question mark. Thanks! Exclamation point.
As long as the Bible show.
It's an hour.
Hour.
It's a live. It's called Crosswalk.
Oh, yeah.
So we talk about. I do it on Mondays. We have Pastor Eric Cartier from Rocky Mountain Calvary does it on 2 days a week, and Jeff Henderson. You know Jeff. He's a faith liaison for Doug Lamborn.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe for Jeff Crank now. So he's a pastor here and hometown boy. So they do it 2 days a week. So sometimes we do sermon stuff. Sometimes we do politics. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes we do. But I've been doing this series because I'm a Messianic Jew, and there's a pastor friend of mine who's gotten more into the Hebraic stuff. So we're approaching that stuff from like a Christian Jewish perspective and trying to. We actually have one of our models that we're doing today is called Messiah in the Middle.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is the Jewish stance, this is the Christian stance.
That's cool.
That was the Messiah bringing it together, and so I flip a switch and go over and do my prophetic and pastoral kind of thing over there. And here I just try to be, truth. I mean, it all comes down to truth and light and trying to.
Did you?
The city.
Did you ever watch Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
He was just we were there at the Terrace.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you for listening to The Peak. Today, again, is Business and Culture Day. Tomorrow is Politics and Government. And who do we have as our guest? Oh, brand new HD16 rep, Rebecca Kelty, won by 3 votes. Won by 3 votes in the recount. She'll be here tomorrow. And Thursday, we're having Parth how do you pronounce your name, Parth? Parth Melpackham, I think that's it. He's the president of D11 School Board, and Jill Hafley, who is another D11 School Board member. They'll be here talking education, and there's been some controversy in the D11 school district, and we'll be getting into that, I hope. We here at The Peak invite you to be part of what we're doing. We'll keep doing that until you finally stand up and do something. If you're not into media, go do something somewhere else. Get civically involved. But if you want to do something in media, you want to tell stories, well, we're the news organization that not only says the quiet stuff out loud, but invites you to help us say it even louder. And so go on thepeak.news, read about being a citizen journalist, or a tech, an intern, a guest, a sponsor. We really love our sponsors. They help us pay the bills and bring this great service to you. And join us. Fill out a contact form. We'll be in touch with you soon. Our purpose here is to cover the region, and we would love your help. Stay tuned now for the Larry Elder Show coming up next here on The Answer. And check out our now 150 plus podcasts that we've done. You're sure to find something that you're interested in, and especially check out the peak.news/hate crime hoax. That's our special investigative reporting website on this whole hate crime hoax. Did Yemi lie? All of that as we get more information. And if you have information on it, contact our tip line. Well, I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, thanking you for joining us for another episode of The Peak for such a time as this. Shalom. Trimming things. Okay, Zach. Thank you. Can you trim that up?
I think it's my first time I did a whole show.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll be questioning Mangione in Altoona. Fox Scott Scott in New York. President Biden designating a former Native American boarding school as a national monument in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Called it a dark chapter.